Good evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news untouched stories. I am Onyi Okbala. Let's begin. The government of La Republic de Cameroon has just commissioned 2 new tugboats at the port of Douala, naming them after Ambazonian leaders Dr. Emmanuel Imbela Lifafa Endele and Dr. John Ngu Foncha. On the surface, it may seem like an act of honor, a tribute to our founding fathers. But to Ambazonians, the people of Ambazonia, it is nothing short of for hollow and calculated distractions. The question is, why now? Why would a government that destroyed the federal structure these men helped build suddenly decide to name ships after them? Why would they pretend to honor men whose vision of equality they have crushed under decades of centralized rule? This is not a tribute. It's mockery. How can you claim to respect Ambazonia's history while you actively erase it? How can you name boats after Ambazonian leaders while refusing to acknowledge the war you have waged on the people of Ambazonia by burning villages, jailing the youth, and turning the homeland into a military zone? Let's not forget, for years, Ambazonians have demanded real developmental projects like roads, electricity, gas power, hospitals, and a deep seaport in Victoria. Each time, they are only given promises, empty promises. The roads remain untarred, the lights rarely come on, and the Victoria Deep Sea port remains a dream on paper, while Douala is flooded with billions in investment. So we ask, what is the real reason behind this gesture? Is this supposed to be silence? Is it supposed to convince the world that there is peace and unity when there is none? The truth is this: you cannot build meaningful unity on lies. You cannot plaster over injustice with plagues and sheep names. If you truly respected Dr. Endele and Dr. Foncha, you would respect the federal vision they fought for. You would listen to the people who are still crying out for justice. You cannot kill the Ambazonian dream and then pretend to celebrate its architect. We see through it. This is not an honor. This is hypocrisy. And no matter what name you carve into the ships in Douala, it will not wash away the truth Ambazonians live in every day in Biya, in Bamenda, in Mamfe, and in Victoria. Until the people of Ambazonia see real change, until promises becomes reality, until war becomes peace, and until justice replaces the tokenisms, there is nothing to celebrate. All these and more we'll talk on tonight's Undaunted. But first, let's get the prime headlines. For the prime headlines, we'll start with La Republic de Cameroon ridiculing Victoria with a Dustbin inauguration. Also tonight, Biya turns formerly kidnapped Biya of Idabato to political puppet. Symbolic gesture or empty promises we'll be taking a look at tonight when it comes to the thug ships. And La Republic de Cameroon Minister of Transport Ernest Bibehe names Tugboats after 2 late prominent Ambazonians. La Republic de Cameroon launches recruits for killer army. On the African scene, 2 years of bloodshed, Sudan's power struggle pushes its nation towards collapse, while Obama blasts Trump's treason accusation as bizarre and desperate distraction. All right, now let's get into the news in full details. All right, let's start tonight's report with the road. The Lari Republic to Cameroon Public Works Minister Emmanuel Nganu Jumezi promised the rehabilitation of dilapidated roads in Tiko, Muntengene, and Biya after the failed promise of constructing the intra-urban roads in Bamenda months back. Ambazonians can only get out but promises from colonial Lari Republic to Cameroon regime. Now, the Lari Republic to Cameroon Public Works Minister Emmanuel Jumezi has made a recent promise to rehabilitate the dilapidated roads in Tiko, Muntengene, and Biya. This announcement comes after a previous promise to construct intra-urban roads in Bamenda, which has yet to materialize. These multiplicity of fake promises is coming at the eve of the outlawed October 2025 presidential election. Many Ambazonians have expressed skepticism regarding the colonial government's commitment to fulfilling its promise, citing a pattern of unfulfilled commitments. The perception that the colonial regime is more focused on making promises rather than taking concrete action has led to growing discontent among the Ambazonian people. A case in point, a month ago, the Lari Republic to Cameroon Prime Minister Dr. Joseph Dion Ngute and the Colonial Minister Emmanuel Nganu Jumezi were in Bamenda, promising the imminent start of the construction works on the intra-urban roads in Bamenda. Nothing has been done. Contrarily, soil is being used to fill selected potholes in the raining season. Unable to materialize the promise made in Bamenda, the same colonial minister is making further promises in the Atlantic zone of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. It is crystally nothing good can come out of the unholy union with Lari Republic to Cameroon. The only way out is for that unholy union to be ruptured and Ambazonians take full responsibility for their development. All right, as usual, on Undaunted, we have our in-house analyst, Barrister Team Mbeseha. Welcome to tonight's Undaunted, Barrister.
Welcome to, thank you for having me once more over this program.
Barrister, for today, we're still in the road issue. As you can see, more promises. He's not the only one. Last week, it was more of Dion Ngute's promises falling apart. This is also coming together. What would you have to say about this?
Well, I have to say that it's a litany of the same problem or the same tactics of a failed government. Let's talk about roads. What is wrong with roads? What Njumisi is doing now, is he trying to react to what Mbagangele said when he traveled from Yaoundé to Muntengene 4, 5, 6 months ago and remarked that the roads were impossible? Is he trying to respond to what Nanuva Lyonga said in Bamenda a few weeks ago, that she had never stepped foot in Bamenda, but she went there and saw that the roads were not such that anybody could call them roads? What is she responding to? Is he responding to the reconstruction of the roads launched in Bamenda by the French ambassador under reconstruction? Or what? What happened to the road in Tiko, Biya, and all those places you have mentioned? The roads suddenly fell from the sky and got scattered? Or they deteriorated over the years? The answer is sure. The roads have been decaying year by year, day by day, until they have come to what they are. The roads are a symbol of what we fight for. There were no roads there. There will not be any roads there. But above all, what they are doing right now as we speak is a campaign for their so-called presidential elections. They are not only doing it in Biya and Bamenda. I saw them carrying caterpillars to somewhere in Du, in the northwest, in Cambe. They carry heavy machines to somewhere in Kupe Manengumba, pretending to do the road from Buti to Banga. And so they are playing a catch-up. Let us catch up and see if we can make all the losses. At least, if by nothing, we can make promises. Promises of a failed system. Again, the question is why? Why all these failed promises? Are they coming back there to do the road with the road equipment they stole from us in the 1960s? What equipment? Caterpillars, graders, everything. They did not get back there. They shipped them to Yaoundé. Actual open daylight thiefing. And now, Mr. Jumese, who probably for the rest of his life has not been to Biya, he comes to tell you want to come and rehabilitate. Rehabilitate what? We don't know. How? We don't even know. Why? It's simply a political promise. Simply a campaign to have themselves retain in power. No, even Paul Biya, they're campaigning to retain themselves in power. To continue to enjoy the privileges they enjoy, to steal from where they don't own. In the pretext of a certain Mr. Biya. Anglophones, they call us. Ambazonians, whatever. We shall not let this happen. They can pretend, they can do anything, they can sing the choir. We know where their plague is. Over to you.
All right. Barrister Mbeseha, routes are not the only challenges here. Moving into Victoria, while the international health aid bolsters medical infrastructure in neighboring La Republique, Cameroon's capital Yaoundé, a laughable scene unfolded in the southern Cameroon city of Victoria. The inauguration of a single dustbin in a zone with ongoing war has drawn attention to disparities in the colonial government's action and the suffering of the population of the coastal territories. So while Ambazonia is grappling with the war which began in 2016 by the Biya regime, neighboring La Republique to Cameroon is still celebrating a boost to their healthcare capacity through the recent donation of medical supplies valued at over 12.3 million francs CFA from China to the Yaoundé Gyneco Obstetrics and Pediatric Hospital. The aid presented by Zhao Hongyan, Vice Governor of China's Shaanxi province, included medicines and equipment for the hospital, a facility constructed with Chinese support and inaugurated in 2002, I beg your pardon. However, the narrative changes when examining events in cities in Ambazonia. Today, a well-known blogger received the lead on happenings in the city of Victoria, located in the Atlantic zone. The colonial divisional officer, among other dignitaries of the land, witnessed a ceremony for the inauguration of a new dustbin. The event, attended by local officials, was reportedly celebrated even amidst rain. To critics, this focus on a single waste bin stands in contrast to the needs and the condition prevalent across the Ambazonian territory. So while the Yaoundé benefits from multi-million francs international medical aid to a well-established hospital, communities in southern Cameroon continues to contend with roads, unreliable electricity, scarcity of clean water, and an under-resourced healthcare system. La République du Cameroon is notorious for this pattern, where investments and resources are directed towards the country's French-speaking heartland, leaving Ambazonians to deal with challenges they, the colonizers, created and receive what many perceive as token provisions. Years of neglect have put the population in a cycle of violence, displacement, and hardship. Infrastructure has collapsed and services remain lacking, and the communities continue to struggle for necessities. Barrister Mbeseha, Ambazonians celebrating on the Dustbin inauguration. You can imagine a Dustbin sports inauguration is what they came to Ambazonia to do, while the Chinese has come to give them drugs for medical of course, for medical situations. While in Ambazonia, all they do is menial projects. This is highly sad. What would you say?
Well, I think it is so sad for Cameroon, for Ambazonia, for Africa, and for the world. You ask, what is the reason? What raison d'etre did they even have to ask for independence in 1961? In 1960, in the case of Black Republic Cameroon, they were looking for independence to become a bigger nation. They begged everything. They begged money to build their National Assembly. They begged people to give them medical supplies. What do they mean by medical supplies? Bandages, syringes. They are begging. They begged money to buy COVID-19 face covers. No, like just cover your face. And so they have become a bigger nation. These people giving them, the Chinese and whoever, are they manufacturing money from the sky? No. They are giving out of their own abundance, out of their own profits. You don't give out of nothing. They are giving out of the profit they make from doing their own businesses. And so they can't do business. They can't do anything for themselves. They can beg for medical supplies. They can beg for National Assembly. They can beg for, above all, go and beg and inaugurate a dustbin. Maybe people who don't, my father and mama will not understand what a dustbin is. What is that? A can put at the corner of the road to pick peppers? Somebody will come to inaugurate it? Well, they want to inaugurate it, but the question is, who gave this? Who gave them this thing that they are trying to inaugurate? If an individual could fetch out money from his or her private pocket and buy that plastic can and put at the corner of the road there, a thing in Limbe called it Victoria, which we talked about yesterday, the host to Sonara, the richest government enterprise in Cameroon. If they cannot afford dust bins just to collect garbage from the streets, but they are not even launching many, they are launching one, they are inaugurating one dustbin that will probably stand in front of the district officer's house or his office. I think there's nothing more shameful than this. There's nothing more shameful than this. And after I had the opportunity to say that they are collecting garbage. They are begging, they can't even collect them in a container. They don't have containers. In the 1960s, when we joined these people, what a system for garbage disposal. I had an uncle, my rest in peace, who was a sanitary officer. They didn't have all these machines, but they could even just build an incinerator. They picked those pieces of peppers, they picked cocoa leaves in the market, and then they burnt them. That was the method of disposal back in 1961. We have lost that. We can't even dispose of anything, talk less of even picking it from the streets. We're reduced to a nation where we go and inaugurate dustbins. Is that they lack something to inaugurate? Actually, they have nothing to celebrate anyway. Because they have better things, they will do it. They will go and celebrate a dustbin. After that inauguration, what will they do? They retire to a bar and drink, headed by a certain chef d'etat or somebody replacing him. They will drink 10 times more than what they could buy all the dustbins in town. And so it is sad. We should never have been there. But we're there. But we must get out of it. At the very least, we shall be able to dispose of our own garbage freely, without celebrating the idea that you are disposing of garbage. What is celebration there? They are keeping your own town clean. Cleanliness is part of your health. You are celebrating that somebody gave you a dustbin to pick garbage, which garbage can cause you an illness if it's lying in the streets. Shame to your only, shame to Limbe Urban Council. They call Limbe Urban Council, that they have been reduced to this level of beggars. Sad, sad, sad. Over to you.
All right, barrister, very sad. Just one dustbin. Anyways, we'll definitely follow up with that report to see if they will eventually inaugurate more than one dustbin. But away from that, Barrister Mbeseha, after enduring 5 months in captivity, one would have thought that the Idabato Colonial Divisional Officer, Iwane Roland, would resign immediately after his release, especially as his freedom was considered a miracle. Shockingly, he has been reassigned to Nguamo in La Republic de Cameroon Central region. These transfer occurring as the colonial nations approaches its presidential election is a confirmed calculated move by the ruling party, but still, Iwane Roland, who chose to side with strangers over his brothers, has been positioned in an interior village. The colonial government has indirectly reminded him of the place of Ambazonians, meddling with them, they belong in the bush. Iwane Roland, who served as a colonial divisional officer for Idabato, was abducted on the 1st of October 2024. He was taken along with a staff member of the Idabato Council in the Indian Atlantic Zone, an area within the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. The Yaoundé administration maintained that pirates operating from neighboring Nigeria carried out the abduction. However, on the 14th of October 2024, a group identified as Dragon Fighters Marine publicly claimed responsibility for the kidnapping via a social media post. During his captivity, the severity of his situation became apparent. Reports and brief footage indicated the harsh conditions he faced, showing him pleading for assistance to rescue a ransom. In response to the abduction, Bernard Kai Belai, the governor of the Southwest, issued a 72-hour period for the release of the official and the council staff. He also suspended social and economic activities in Idabato following a meeting to address the situation. Biya's government claimed it engaged in a diplomatic discussions with Nigerian authorities through the Nigerian Consul General in Biya. Iwane Roland eventually regained his freedom in March 2025 after 5 months held by his captors. 4 months following his release, the colonial authorities have now transferred him to Nguamo, a location within the Bibehe Akano division of her central region. Critics believe the timing of these transfers is a confirmed political move as La Republic de Cameroon moves towards its presidential election in October 2025. Biya is clearly aiming to position individuals or narratives in ways that serve his electoral agenda. To observers, these transfer to an interior region like Nguamo, away from the more prominent coastal, a major administrative center, is also interpreted as a subtle yet potent message from the region. For Ambazonians, it reinforces a perception that regardless of their position or ordeal, the colonial administration reserves a specific place for them, often away from central influence, thus indirectly marking their aspirations for greater inclusion and recognition. The divisional officer's acceptance of this transfer and his continued presence within the administrative structure is seen as allowing himself to be used as an instrument against his own people. Iwane Roland's acceptance of this offer would be considered a betrayal of the trust of the Southern Cameroons who advocated the most, pouring in sweat and blood to see that he was released alive. All right, Barrister Mbeseha, I don't know if you remember some of the videos that were sent in from his abductors. I'm sure in the course of this conversation, the technical crew would definitely post the video for others who may not remember some of the torturous videos that we saw of Iwane Roland when he was abducted. One would think that after going through this terrible kind of torture, you would want to probably sit back and enjoy the second chance you've been given to life. But here we are. Just maybe, he just well, I wouldn't know what to think at this point. Barrister Mbeseha, are you surprised that he has resumed and gone back to work and going to act fully at work at the moment?
No. I'm not surprised because a good number of these people you see wearing some uniforms. The good number of them, if not all, are what I would describe in my own words, and excuse me for using the words. They are castrates, walking in uniform, calling themselves men. Those are castrates. One is a castrate. A castrate is a man who looks like a man, but he can no longer produce anything like a man. He ceases to be a man. He can lie on the bed with a woman for the rest of his life. He will do nothing. It's a castrate. Why is he a castrate? I have said. When they adopted this man in Idabato, we cried for him. I personally appeared on this forum so many times singing his song. We saw his wife going up and down the streets crying, begging for the liberation of her husband. There were two of them. As she rightly said, he found his way back. Where is the other person? Nobody cares about it. He's probably dead, but that's not significant to anybody. This one is important because he wears a khaki shirt with some things on it, which makes him the chef de terre. But again, I call him a castrate. Why is he a castrate? It could have been different. This guy who was released in March, he was barely 2 months recovering at home, about 2 months. What happened? He joined the crew from Kupe Manebuba to contribute money to beg Paul Biya to become the president again. They contributed money. I saw his name on the list. Mr. Iwane Roran contributed 50,000 francs to the Kupe Manebuba CPDM to go and plead for President Paul Biya to be re-elected. Just 2 months ago, 2-3 months ago, after he was released. He's not a castrate. I didn't do him any favor. If I were him, I would take voluntary retirement. But even if he cannot take voluntary retirement because he has not saved any money for his life, for him to survive, if he continues to need that money, must he be redeployed to Ngumu? Ngumu is in the center there. If they have value for his own life, why can't he be allowed to sit in the office in Yaoundé, in the Ministry of Territorial Administration, or in Biya, or somewhere where he can recover from this trauma? They will not let him have that. They will send him somewhere because he must be a chef de terre. Which chef de terre, I've said many times here, is the president. He's now become the president of Ngumu. I saw the appointments. Somebody else was sent to replace him. But the question simply is, are there any other measures to make the man who replaced him in Idabato safer? What has changed in Idabato for somebody to assume to accept to go to that place, given what his predecessor has gone through? Nothing has changed. Idabato is still what we know. They have changed nothing there. But you can send anybody there, provided that that person is not the son of a big man in Yaoundé. Provided that person is not the daughter or the relative to a big man. Does the life of Mr. Iwane matter to the administration in Yaoundé? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. He can be killed. That means nothing to them. He can die. That means nothing to them. Again, that is the gender you faced. That under normal circumstances, you should be given retirement with all his benefits, given what he went through. But he will not take benefits. He will not take the retirement. He himself will contribute for his own imprisonment. He simply signed up, gave his 50,000 to be sent somewhere else. What if he was sent to the Boko Haram area in the north? Would that have made any difference in his life? Would that his wife, who was crying up and down, pretending to go naked, what does she say? Nothing. And so we're dealing with people who themselves are begging to belong, who themselves are self-imprisoned. Otherwise, again, it could be anybody else, but not Iwane, given what he went through just in February. It's not even a year. Where did he take the rest? Has he even taken any rest? No. He must go to Ngumu and be a chef de terre there. Again, if he needed to work at all, which I don't think it was necessary. He should have been left in the ministry. The ministry is full of chief of services, directors, even ordinary clerks. They are all ENAM trained khaki wearing dudes. Why not in the field? He could be in the ministry and working for his retirement. But again, he wouldn't do it. He wishes someone to bribe his way up to be a shambiter over nothing, to risk his own life. And again, now that he's back to public office, we urge you can do us one favor. Let him tell us what happened to the other guy that was kidnapped with him. Where is he? That man who was kidnapped with him, he too has a family. He has a wife. He has children. Nobody's saying anything about them because now that he's absent, he cannot afford to give 50,000 francs to bribe for Paul Biya's campaign. So it's shameful. In fact, very, very shameful. If that ran were my brother, I would renounce him for the rest of my life. But unfortunately, he's not mine. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. We would wait and see the outcome of this. All of these are developing stories that pops up, and we will definitely take them because, like you said, we took it upon ourselves to advocate and plead for his release here throughout the time he was held in captivity or he was held by his abductors. Meanwhile, the La Republic de Cameroon Ministry of Transport has commissioned 2 new tugboats at the port of Douala, a colonial economic capital of La Republic de Cameroon, naming them after prominent Ambazonian figures Emmanuel Mbeller Lifafe, Endele, and John Ngufuncha. While the gesture is intended to honor their contributions to Cameroon's federal structure, many Ambazonians view it as a hollow tribute, hollow because the terms of the federal structures were never respected by La Republic de Cameroon. The move comes amid growing discontent amongst Ambazonians who have long been denied the development of a deep sea port in Victoria by the colonial regime. The Victoria Deep Sea Port project has been a point of contention, with many feeling that it would have significantly boosted the region's economy and provided much needed infrastructure. Critics argue that naming tugboats after Ambazonian icons is a mere symbolic gesture intended to placate the Ambazonian community rather than address their substantive concerns. By contrast, the lack of meaningful investment in infrastructure projects like the Victoria Deep Sea Port is seen as a more significant issue that requires attention and action. Here, some reactions from Ambazonians regarding the act of the colonial minister. Anglophone in quote, them deserve these tugboats, them no deserve seaport or airport. Well, this is an outdated stuff. Cameroon and comedy, this election period will show them wonders. What has this got to do in a crucial time like this, if not just to distract the people? Another question is, where is Sonora? Now is the name boats after people who come from areas where there is no water? Why now if the naming is taking place? What happens to Limbe seaports? And now they're asking, what about the airport? What are they doing to fix them? Saying things like any right now to do is to win the hearts of Ambazonian. They should start by rehabilitating Sonora, by building a new refinery in Kribi, and make many more other things to do. What if the boat sinks? It means Funcher or Endele's name sinks with it. And we know how that will end under the water. So these are a few reactions from Ambazonians across the social media platform reacting to all of this. I mean, the last statement got me there, Barrister Mbeseha. While we use this for our introduction today, asking very pertinent questions about, what is all of this? Probably they're trying to buy off Ambazonia. That last comment there was so funny. The commenter was saying, why boats? What happens when the boat sinks? When the boat sinks, both the name of Funcher and the name of Endele will sink with it and water will carry it away. But that may sound funny, but that's exactly what this may look. Why all of this? There are other promises that they haven't even fulfilled. The roads are there. There are other things, the airports, the seaports, everything. So why boats at this point? What would you say about this?
I think the thing I will say about First and Famous is that it's a congratulation not to them, but to us. Because remember 2 days ago, we sat here and I cried out that these are the people who pulled down the statue of Foncha in Dualade and dragged it in the mud. Maybe they heard from us and they suddenly woke up from their sleep and thought they should do something. But again, as the people have asked, the naming of things after people of prominence is common around the world, but it must be relevant. Foncha and Muna were never sailors. They were not seamen. And I'm almost 100% sure that they didn't even know how to swim. Foncha came from the hills of Bamenda there, in Bamfoot, now in Nkwen. And they came from the mountains in Biya. They never swam. So what relevance has a boat to do with them? We name stadiums, for example, after prominent players. We name streets after important people that have played a role in their lives. We call it Kennedy Avenue in Yaoundé, De Gaulle Avenue, and all those names have a meaning. But again, what has the ship got to do with Ndele or with Foncha? As the person rightly puts, when the ship sinks tomorrow, or they sell it, because they are naming them after boats. You remember that there was something they call Cameroon shipping lines. They were supposed to have ships. What's a boat? It's a piece of plank that you put some holes there and they catch fish. For some time, the lifetime of a boat is probably not enough to 20 years. And so even if it's a ship which can last for 20, 25 years, what does it mean to us? You decommission it sometime down the road. And in any case, why are these boats only named after Mr. Foncha and Ndele? So all what Ndele and Foncha merit in Cameroon history is to name boats after them. Where do boats feature? In 1954 to 1961, during which time these people fought for the institution of Southern Cameroon as a country. That became eventually, according to Yaoundé, part of Cameroon. Where did boats feature in that struggle? No boat. They even come from Nigeria in a boat. When they left Enugu, they didn't come back by boat. They came back by car. Because there's no sea road to Enugu from Biya. You come back through the cross river and go on foot past Romanfe and come down to Biya. So they never enter any boat. So this thing is actual political madness. They're trying to make patches where they have never existed. Again, we have had Cameroon shipping lines. We have had airlines. They sold the whole airline along with the planes. Even if they have named one of their planes Foncha, or even they renamed it Ahijo, the plane is gone with the whole airline. The shipping line is gone with all its ships. If you sell your ships or your boats, I will not buy and carry your name on it. All of us, you see those transport buses. Somebody who buys an auction Vatican bus that transports passengers is not going to maintain Vatican there. He'll change and put his own name there. And so it is a total attempt to deceive people. Not because they want to name those after. These debates have come out, I'm sure, because we are mentioning them here. It is also time for elections in Cameroon. They do all this. So on the ensemble, we are one. On a nommé whatever thing, Fonjano, Lotra and Deleno, and people will come out and celebrate. It is meant to be a distraction, as you rightly said there. And the air now, what is so hot in the air now, as far as we're concerned, is the stealing of Sonara publicly to Kribi. It is out there. Just a few days ago, we were talking about it. The Prime Minister is on the hot seat, at least from us, to offer a diversion to bring this nonsense of the boat, to create a diversion they send the Minister of Transport to Biya, go and see how the roads are. And the minister goes there, shamelessly, for example, Mr. Governor takes him and says, well, go and see the road yourself. That's the road that Mr. Governor has been driving on it every day. And so the topic will change from what people are angry with to what has no meaning. They are naming a boat. If the Fancha children or any children were still alive, I'm not going to find where to see where the boat named after the forest is sitting. Or when that boat gets decommissioned, they will tow the one for Fancha to somewhere in Gwen and put it behind his house. Or they build a museum for it somewhere in Douala. They put it there. They will call it the National Museum of Art or whatever thing in the United States. This is destruction. It's shameless. And you ask yourself the question, do these people consult anybody? Did they consult any Ambazonian politicians who were even their own allies in Yaoundé and Douala to see what this thing has, where this thing has any meaning? Absolutely nothing. It's a destruction. In fact, it's a disgrace. It's an insult. That the word. So in the history books of Cameroon, the place of Fancha and Ndele, which I've said here just a few days ago, that they have been doing this history, you don't find them mentioning their own heroes who are not part of them. So the history books will go down to record that a boat was named after Fancha. A boat was named after Ndele 60 years after they fought and got out of Nigeria. Not in a boat. They never used a gun. They did not use a boat. They never entered boats in their lives. And so it is shameful. It should be condemned. It should be disowned. Over to you.
All right, definitely it should be condemned and disowned. All right, we'll definitely move on to other reports. We have these government special announcements. All right, so this government special announcement is for the Federal Government Draft Award 25 coming up this Saturday. The Federal Government Draft Award 25 will take place this Saturday, July 26, 2025. County to be drafted is Undaunted, and by this announcement, all Ambazonians are strongly encouraged to come together in unity and patriotism as all Ambazonians come together for a greater tomorrow. Now, this is a pivotal moment in these journey. It's supposed to be a collective journey. And so Ambazonians are encouraged to come together to show commitment, solidarity, and determination for the future of Ambazonia. The date again is Saturday, July 26, 2025. The time is 8 p.m. Be there, be counted, be part of the change. Barrister Mbeseha, away from all of the issues of La Republic to Cameroon, let us talk about the Undaunted draft of Saturday. We weren't able to have any of the county leaders here, but in general, you have a way of encouraging everyone to turn up regardless or irrespective of their different counties. So Saturday,
Well,
Ambazonians are coming for Undaunted. What are your expectations?
my expectations should be higher than what I thought. Everybody should be motivated to go to Undaunted. If for nothing, but for one important thing that has just happened to us. It has been symbolized in Undaunted. You remember a few days ago, and even as we speak right now, we're talking about two mothers with two babies kidnapped, abducted, and sent to prison. That is in Undaunted. If that act alone cannot infuriate anybody, then you're no longer worth living. Because that child could have been yours. That mother could have been your wife or your husband or your mother. To take babies to jail from DOP. DOP is the headquarters of Undaunted. But let us also be reminded that they are also neighbors to we. That's the heartbeat of the revolution. So this will not happen for nothing. We have to come out and show them that take away all our babies to custody, even kill them like you've killed them before. We will not relent. We will draft the last penny. We will fight you to the last ounce of our blood. We will stand you till the last air the last breather we can do, till the last man standing the same. Because even if you didn't like Gokutunja, the fact of these babies, not children, babies, being adopted from there and being jailed, for only one reason, that an ASA, our ASAs, captured one of their legitimate targets, a gendarme, hiding, pretending to go in civilian clothes. I said, yeah, that guy was a legitimate target. And you go to capture him, you catch him. What does the government do with your opponent? They say, okay, we'll take everybody away, we'll kill everybody we can find. Well, good enough, they've adopted those mothers and their children. They've sent them to jail. The good luck is, I call it good luck, that gendarme, if the story is true, is no longer alive. You will never be able to come back to tell the story of what it is. And so we have to draft. Our strength, our success lies in the draft. No matter what little you can, a widow's mind is okay. Because we learned growing up that bit by bit, drop by drop fills the ocean. The ocean is a body of water. But before it became a body of water, we started with small streams and drops of rain. So go draft, if for nothing, for the sake of what happened to the children and the mothers in that is in Gokutunja. Over to you.
Yeah, Barrister Mbeseha, before now, I am well aware that Tujer, to be particular, or in particular, had a well-organized system where they already have their payments and donations even before the draft happens. I had an interview some time ago with one of the county chairs, I think about last year or last 2 years, where when it's just time for draft, all they do is to present their collective sum already to, to the team behind the draft. Do they still have such structures now?
I don't know whether they have them, but what we all know, is that this thing of so-called coup plotters affected Gokutunja seriously. But I know, I also follow them in their different groups. Some of them will claim that they are not for us, but nonetheless, they are still for Gokutunja. They are also revolted with this nonsense of capturing their mothers and their babies. So they are there. But I cannot answer the question, but there's a platform. We will not draft without a platform for drafting. So the information will be given out, I'm sure, by tomorrow, where to draft. Draft Gokutunja, notwithstanding that some people are there causing a distraction. Their destructive activities can cause them to draft. If they go there and draft $1 million, so be it, that's good. And we'll draft $1 million here or less. That is still a good idea. The important thing is that we must liberate Gokutunja. Our enemy there is the administration. You'll be given platforms that this federal government is connected to. Draft without questions asked. Draft without thinking twice. We shall be free. God shall be liberated once and forever. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much. Now heading on to our last report from neighboring La Republic to Cameroon. This report says that more than 5,000 young people in neighboring La Republic to Cameroon northern part have begun a rigorous selection process to join its elite rapid intervention battalion, the Bees. While official statements frame this as a move to bolster its national security and create employment opportunity for these youths in a region long affected by Boko Haram militants, a closer look suggests a more sinister agenda to escalate the already devastated war in southern Cameroon, especially with the colonial presidential elections coming up in the months ahead. In La Republic de Cameroon's far north region, specifically the Salak Diamare division, a large-scale recruitment exercise for La Republic de Cameroon Rapid Intervention Battalion known as B is now underway since July 21st, 2021. Over 5,000 applicants have been subjected to document scrutinies, preliminary medical checks, and demanding physical test, including a grueling 20-kilometer run with a 20-kilogram load. This effort is touted by the Colonial Ministry of Defense as a nationwide initiative, ostensibly to strengthen special forces and provide employment. However, the reality on the ground in all zones of Amazonia paints a different picture. For years, these communities have endured relentless violence and instability, trapped in a war that has displaced hundreds of thousands and claimed countless lives. The colonial government's narrative of strengthening national security rings hollow to those who face the daily consequences of its military operations. Ignoring all genuine efforts towards peace and dialogue, La Republic du Cameroon has opted for this recruitment, which appears to be a cynical maneuver to inject fresh forces into the southern Cameroon's war. The beast, with its history in counter-insurgency operations, is a central tool in the Biya's government strategy against the Ambazonian population. These newly recruited individuals, many from vulnerable areas, are not being trained for national defense in a broad sense, but rather they are being molded into instruments of a war that has brought nothing but pain and destruction to the people of Ambazonia. Families have and continue to be torn apart, livelihoods destroyed, and the fabric of society shredded. While these young men remain hopeful for the so-called opportunities, observers can only feel pity for them, as they are ignorant of the fact that they shall be used as sacrificial lambs in the bloody war. Barrister Mbeseha, over 5,000 youths. Would you be surprised to probably learn a few Ambazonians may just be in this? And do you think this is just for security, or you think it's all in a bid to empower some persons towards the election? Are you thinking in the same direction with me, or you would have your own opinion? I would like to hear.
Well, one truth is that the youths are unemployed. Let us say they recruit 5,000 youths, just 5,000. What percentage of the youths is that in the people of Cameroon? And so the recruitment by itself is a fundraising event for the government. Because if they recruit 5,000, by the time they recruit 5,000, at least 10,000, 20,000 applied. The application itself involves money, buying physical stamps, buying this. They would have raised so much money in the process of trying to recruit those guys. But what do you need 5,000 Bs for? The B itself, BR, was meant to be an elite force. B stands for Brigade Intervention Rapide. They were designed to protect just the presidency. You don't need 5,000 troops to defend the presidency. That's more building there. But they have been transformed into a fighting force without the skills. Some of them who have been trained, recruited before these new group of people, have turned out to have been thieves, turned out to be armed robbers. I saw on the video, I saw one of these news items not too long ago, where some armed robbers were caught in Bamenda there. And they turned out being bees who had come all the way from the north to break houses in Bamenda. And so, what is the essence of this? Is it a distraction? Maybe, because everybody wants to go to become a bee, not because you want to fight now, but because you want to wear the uniform and claim a right to some type of small pay. That's the essence. What are they doing with them? Maybe they need them, but why do they need them? Because they are trying to replenish their forces. We just talk about Gokutinja, we talk about Bui. They've lost quite a number of them there in active war, either dead or completely incapacitated, and some have escaped. And so that's the reason behind it. Otherwise, you're recruiting 5,000 people. Who are you going to keep them? You have military bases to keep 5,000. Can you feed 5,000 when you're unable to repair the streets? Can you feed 5,000 when you're unable to give them ordinary bread? Some of them, when they are deployed, they break into those houses to steal bread, to steal plantain, to steal just food. I remember at the beginning of this war, they went to my own places and they ate all the goats that were found there. They stole all the chickens and ate. And so that's the role of an elite army. Shameful to them. Yes, they can recruit them. Even among those 5,000, they are recruiting 5,000 in the whole country. There will probably be about 200 Ambazonians there, if I don't get even 50. Which 200 will probably be brothers and sisters of some ministers or some people who claim to belong to the system. So they can recruit the army. That does not concern us. But we know that the army is coming to target us. So let us drop our second bull. To tell that by the time they recruit 10 more, we shall be able to eliminate 5. Then good recruiting. I know a lot of them who were recruited just 2 years ago who have all escaped. Some of them in the deserts, still running. Some have landed in Canada and other places. So it's a futile effort to pretend to show no mercy, which, as far as Ambazonians is concerned, is not going to work. Recruit them, give us food for our army, for our defense forces to eliminate. The more we eliminate, the more you employ. And as I said earlier in this last segment, you are a beggar nation, a nation that begs to pay the military, a nation that begs to pick debt from the street, a nation that has oil and siphons it all abroad. Nothing positive to come out of there. Nothing positive to move us ever remain there. We must fight, and we want to fight to the end. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. It's been an amazing time with you. Tonight on Undaunted, I'm very certain that over the weekend where we come together to draft for Ngokentuja, I'll definitely see more of you and would continue with the conversation. Thank you so much. Is at this point would allow you to go.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. When we return right after the break, we'll take a walk into Sudan to see what is happening with the power struggle. For the past 2 years, Sudan has been devastated by a brutal and protracted civil war that has plunged the country into one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world. The conflict erupted in April 2023 and pitted the Sudanese armed forces, the SAF, loyal to the de facto government, against the powerful paramilitary group known as the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF. The RSF is led by Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, commonly known as Hamidi, a former militia leader who rose to prominence during the Darfur conflict and later became a top general in Sudan's transitional government. The war is not limited to these two main factions. Numerous other armed groups, tribal militias, and regional actors have aligned themselves with either the SAF or the RSF, adding complexity and regional fragmentation to the conflict. Political ambition, ethnic divisions, and economic interests, especially over resources like gold and strategic trade routes, further fueled violence. At the onset of the war, the RSF gained significant ground using its mobility and urban warfare tactics to seize key locations. One of the most dramatic developments early in the war was the RSF's rapid advance into Khartoum, the capital. The group launched a siege of the city, occupying strategic districts, including military bases and government buildings, while the SAF retaliated with the heavy artillery and airstrikes. The battle for Khartoum turned the densely populated city into a battleground, causing massive civilian displacement, destruction of infrastructure, and a near total collapse of public services. Since then, the war has spread to other parts of the country, including Darfur, Kordofan, and the eastern and northern areas, which already burdened by decades of marginalization and past conflicts. Peace talks and ceasefires have repeatedly failed, often collapsing within days. Meanwhile, millions of Sudanese have been forced to flee their homes, with many seeking refuge in neighboring countries such as Chad, Egypt, and South Sudan, straining regional stability. As of mid-2025, there appears to be no clear path to peace. No international community has struggled to broker a lasting solution, and humanitarian access remains severely restricted in many areas. The war has not only shattered Sudan's political transition following the 2019 ousting of dictator Omar al-Bashir, but has also deepened fears of a wider regional conflict. All right after this short break, we'll take a look at the USA, where Obama is blasting Trump's treason accusation as bizarre and a desperate distraction. You're welcome back. Former President Barack Obama's office has issued a forceful response to Donald Trump's recent accusation that the former president committed treason during the 2016 election, dismissing the allegation as outrageous, bizarre, and a weak attempt at distraction. Meanwhile, how did President Trump say this thing? Now let's get a video of exactly what Trump said.
The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election. We found this isn't like evidence this is like proof, irrefutable proof that Obama was seditious, that Obama was trying to lead a coup.
Oh, well, you've heard that. And so in reaction to that, in a rare public statement, Obama's spokesperson said the Trump's campaign is once again pushing baseless conspiracy theories in an effort to divert attention from growing scrutiny surrounding their Espetian case and recent Department of Justice views. President Obama does not typically respond to every piece of misinformation put forward by the former president. The statement read, but this allegation is so outrageous that it demands a response. It is a ridiculous, politically motivated attempt to write history and distract from more pressing issues facing the country. Now, the rebuttal comes after Trump urged the DOJ, that's the Department of Justice, to investigate what he claims was a treasonous conspiracy by Obama-era officials to undermine his 2016 campaigns. The allegation stems in part from a criminal referral by Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who alleges the intelligence community may have been weaponized. However, Obama's office pointed to multi-bipartisan investigations, including the 2020 Senate Intelligence Committee report led by Republican Senator Marco Rubio that concluded Russia interfered in the election to benefit Trump, but found no evidence. Evidence votes were altered or the intelligence was falsified. That's on the other part. The facts have not changed. The statement continued. Multiple independent reviews confirmed that Russia sought to influence the election. These findings were accepted by Democrats and Republicans alike, including many in Trump's own administration. Anyways, the Department of Justice has acknowledged it is conducting a preliminary review of Gabbard's referral and the broader claim of intelligence manipulation. Legal experts caution that such a case would require an extraordinary burden of proof, and so far, no concrete evidence has emerged to support Trump's accusation. The timing of Trump's renewed focus on Obama coincides with intensifying media coverage of newly unsealed Eastern court documents, which have embroiled several high-profile figures, including Trump himself. But Trump will always be Trump. He says what he wants to say without any fear. Anyways, as this continues to develop, we'll definitely bring it here with our own in-house analysis and what we think of it. And with that, we've come to the end of tonight's Undaunted. But before we go, let's take a look at the major stories. All right, tonight on Undaunted, we told you that La Republic de Cameroon Ridicules Victoria with Dustbin Inauguration. Also tonight, we told you that Biya turned formerly kidnapped Biya of Idabato to political puppet. We took a look at what gesture of La Republic de Cameroon, which was only an empty promise. We told you tonight that La Republic de Cameroon Ministry of Transport Ernest Bibehe has named Tugboats after two late prominent Ambazonians. Also tonight on the African scene, we took a walk into Sudan, where 2 years of bloodshed and power struggle has pushed the nation into collapse. While on the foreign scene, we told you that Obama has blasted Trump's treason accusation as bizarre and desperate distraction. On behalf of the team behind today's production, and of course our in-house analyst barista team based here, is good night and God bless. As we leave you with ABC Amba TV images.